And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. If you guys kind of saw the cards in the thumbnail of this video, I think you know where this chat might be going. So, did people get wrecked with these Charizard UPCs? I think that's the first thing because right now that's a relevant topic because I think a lot of people, including myself, and probably including a lot of you out there, did make that play. Now, it's not a total crash and burn. I mean, tens are still selling for right around $300. So keep in mind, Charizard UPC is $120 MSRP product. You get three of those promos in there. You get your 16 packs. You still get your coins and your dice and your damage counters and your sleeves and your playmat and stuff like that. So to have one of those cards hit a 10, still make $300 as the market stands right now is not bad. This is the problem. This is what I said about that product from day one. It was going to be the fastest race to the bottom that we have ever seen on a modern product. And I am so happy that I can officially say that I was correct by that. Because if you watch it, these Charizard UPC promos is officially the fastest race to the bottom we've seen, and especially when it comes to PSA 9 prices for these cards. Oh my God, PSA 9 prices for special delivery Charizard promos are getting absolutely destroyed, and it feels really good to be right about those. 10s, though, 10s are still holding that premium, but for how long? I was very curious how these Charizard UPC promos are going to play out because I was looking at just the most recent promo we've really seen that was in a way comparable. It's not a one-to-one, but it was the special delivery Charizard. And it's pretty funny because I sent out a submission. I had $100 grade and tier in there. I had the regular tier, I had the 50, and then I also had a $15 bulk sub in there. Ironically, my $15 bulk sub had 4 special delivery Charizards in it, and probably for now until the foreseeable future, every single PSA submission I have from now until I would say a few years from now is going to have at least one special delivery Charizard in it. The irony of all this is that probably one of those 4 special delivery Charizards that were in my $15 submissions, more likely than not, is going to probably hit a 10. They weren't bad condition. They were okay. So if one of those special delivery Charizards hits a 10, the same card that was in my $15 submission shipped in the same package, not the same actual submission, but same package to PSA on the same day. The irony of all this is that freaking special delivery Charizard that I graded at 15 is going to sell for the same price as one of these Charizard UPC promos that I regular tiered at $100. Well, this is just definition of irony, right? This is the irony of ironies. But it still goes back to this. One, we are asking ourselves a lot of questions. And the special delivery Charizard was a simple, or not the special delivery Charizard, the Charizard UPC promos was a simple question that everybody was asking. How many of these are they going to print? Are they going to flood the market? Are they going to be really easy to find? I think the warning signs were there very early on. And I think they were very apparent. Like the first one being GameStop doing in-store pre-orders, and at the time they weren't really having limits. Anybody who really, really wanted them was able to go to their GameStops and get those Charizard UPCs in person. And then Pokemon Center, there was a lot of people they had a couple drops, but a lot of people eventually got them. And then they sat on Target's website forever. And I'm probably at the time of recording this video, you could probably go on Target right now and still pick them up. And then the outliers of all outliers, one of the most amazing things I've seen in modern Pokemon when it comes to availability was Walmart, having purchase order limits of 10. So the warning signs are out there that these things were going to be abundant, 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 and they are. But it still goes in a way to show the strength of this market where, these 10s are still selling for $300. And yeah, I know a lot of people out there are going to say like, oh, print quality is not great. They're pretty hard to grade, all this stuff. A lot of these things came, fresh out of these UPCs pretty dinged up. But as of right now, PSA Pop Report's not really showing that. It's showing that it's about a 50 to 60% chance of grading that card in a 10, which historically in the history of this hobby, 50% gem mint 10 rate is fantastic. For super modern Pokemon, you know, when you have the Umbreon having an 80% gem 10 rate. So to have a card that's like a 50 or 60, yeah, that's a little bit tougher for a lot of people. Well, that's the thing. I think this Charizard UPC play, the turn and burn, the flipping, is probably coming to an end. And now, personally, if anybody asked me, should they still be trying to push these things out, express grading them, all this stuff, I'd say no. Time's just kind of, you know, ran out on that. But PSA, if they do another $15, yeah, just send them all. You know, as assuming they're not just like totally beat up where they have like super bad dings where they're going to be 6 or lower. You know, just send them at your 15. And where do I think these things are going to wind up in the history of this hobby? They're probably going to be relatively comparable to, they'll probably be like high end Charizard V promos from Champions Pass. So like a Charizard V promo and a 10 is between like $30 and $40. We'll probably see these cards settle a little bit higher than that. I'd say probably for 10s, they settle between 120 and 140, maybe 100 and 140. Maybe that's where they'll wind up when all these are said and done, because I still think they're like, you know, a little bit more premium. I mean, the artworks on these cards are fantastic, but I think that's where they're going to wind up. So it'll be a little over double the price of the Charizard V promo from Champions Path. But right now they're still selling at 300. So that price has nowheres to go but down. And it will go down. And and I think this was the hard thing we were trying to do, is at the very beginning, we were trying to time it to say, what will the very first one sell for? Because whatever the first card sold for was going to dictate the market. And I think, sadly, for those who were trying to do the quick, you know, flip, you know, get these things as soon as you got them, play that. And I call it the ultimate game of hot potato. Imagine these cards are burning your hands to the point where you're having 3rd-degree burns. That's what these cards were. People were pushing them out. I didn't push mine out. So the special delivery Charizards released on a Friday. I wasn't able to send mine out Saturday morning because I had the waits for some of my Charizard UPCs that were still being sent to me in the mail to get delivered. So I didn't get to send those out till Monday. So really had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days. I sent mine on Monday. And at Monday, I was already getting nervous that I was missing the boat because I had to wait 3 days. Like, do you know how crazy that is? How like ultimate game? But that's playing that game. If you want to play this like super flippin' type modern game, which luckily I think there was a couple people out there who were kind of, what's that Z and G always say, never punish. I think there was a couple people that punished, especially if you hit 9s, but anybody that hit 10s, you know, made out pretty well. And for my understanding is a lot of people that really did some pretty good pre-graded, looked at what they thought they were going to get. And if they sent those cards at lower tiers, especially if they sent them at bulk tiers at like 15, they're probably going to do fine. This is a crazy thing about bulk. I talked about bulk from PSA on a probably like 1 or 2 lives ago. And somebody in my comments said, there's no way you're getting your $15 bulk back in less than a month. There's no way. And they were saying like how theirs were taking 2 months and all this stuff. There are so many people out there right now at the time of recording this video that have already got their $15 bulk returns back. So many. Mine's so I have a couple $15 bulk, but 2 of mine are now in QA2, so like step 7 in the PSA grading. 2 of them in 7 at the $15 bulk tier. Oh my God, that is crazy. And the date they were received was October 13th. So it's been a little bit over a month for my 15s, and they're probably like a day or 2 away to being shipped back to me. Maybe we'll go on the high and say a week. But Josh, the old card shop, I know he had a PSA return where he got back like a huge $15 submission. It was a bunch of cards. So these $15 submissions are definitely coming back. So it's changing the way too, but it's so if you want to do this modern flipping thing or whatever people want to try to do, it's actually a great time for that. And in my opinion, there are still some like super obvious plays out there. Yeah, the Charizard UPC, that's kind of slowly going away. And I shouldn't even say slowly, it's quickly going away. Anybody that made their early plays are probably going to do okay. Maybe some people will lose a little bit, like I said, if they hit nines, but there's still some promos that are still coming out. A promo I just picked up a bunch of as of like not today, but yesterday. I picked up a bunch of the on the ball Pikachus from England, or from the UK, I should say. And if you guys don't know what those promos are, I'm sure most of you do. They were the on the ball Pikachu was just an absolutely crazy price for, those on the ball cards. I know there's like the Sobble, the Grookey, the Pikachu, but the Pikachu was super expensive because it was like super limited with the way it was handed out at a soccer league to like you could only be an actual player. So you had to be like in the 10-year-old age gap or age range to even get this card from the league. It was super, super scarce. But then they just made that card into like, imagine GameStop, like how they have GameStop promos. You go in, you spend $20 in the store, you get a card. That's what they turned that on the ball Pikachu into. But I still like that card because it has this very, very, very small barrier of entry to it. And when I say it's an extremely small barrier of entry, it's still better than a card that has no barrier of entry. And all that barrier of entry is now for that on the ball Pikachu is for most people that I'm talking to, you're not going to be able to just go into that store because you don't live in the UK. For the most part, I'd say most of my listeners are in America, or shout out to like Australia and some Netherlands listeners and Germany and all these different places. And so not everyone is in the UK. So we can't all walk into our local stores and pick it up. So that one barrier of entry is just, you literally have to go on eBay and pick it up. Now, I waited a decent amount of time to pick up these promos because I felt the prices were going to drop pretty hard. They have. I got a good price for them. But what I was really waiting for was I was just waiting for a seller who had a bunch of them, because in order to ship cards from the UK to America, you're going to be looking between like $15 and $20 USD for shipping. $15 to $20 is a lot of money, especially when you're talking about a card that could be like between $15 and $25. You're almost doubling the price. So for me, I had to wait for somebody to have a bunch of those cards. So I ended up averaging out, it cost me about $1 per card to ship. That's, like the average when I took into shipping. The only problem was I had to like kind of pay a little bit up more than I wanted to. It was like $2.50 more a card than I would have liked to. So you're paying a little bit more per card, but you're paying drastically less than if I were to have each one of those cards shipped to me individually. So it's like all these this little game of like mental gymnastics you now have to play. And that's pretty much what I was doing. But that's the thing. That's just the most current modern play right now. And that's going to be another one of those. I'm going to get those cards. I'm going to just send them away the PSA. Going to get them back, 9s or 10s. And I'm just going to freaking push those cards out onto the market because it's still super early on for a promo play like that. And if you guys don't know why I'm talking about stuff like this, is because I made it apparent to you a few videos back that I want to be just a little bit more transparent on my daily plays. And I will be more transparent on the stuff that I feel is, mass produced, ready, available. Like these cards aren't getting bought out. They're not like buyouts. There's just way too many of them. This is now a mass produced promo. Imagine the same way as if you're going to pick up a promo from GameStop, like I mentioned earlier. It's the same thing. So it's not like I'm going after any sort of niche things or things that are super rare, super scarce that by talking about it's just going to jack up the market. So that's one of my current plays. And it's just funny because I used to never really want to play this game of just, follow the modern thing and just play the modern game because it was always there, but it was never like what I personally wanted to do. But now it's just become easier and easier on every single set release and every single promo. And I look back on a couple promos where I feel like they were very apparent and I just kind of didn't pull the trigger the way I should have. And I've talked about it before. Going back to the Japanese stamp boxes, I bought as many of those things as I could financially afford. And it played out fantastically. I was picking up between 200 and 240. I've talked about on this channel before. And even before that, I was picking up some of the screen promos, but I wasn't picking up nearly what I would consider a lot. So now, anytime I get these opportunities for things that I just think are easy plays, and this is the thing, what is an easy play in this hobby? And I think that's a good question. What do you think is an easy play in this hobby? For me, all I think is a easy play in this hobby is things that take almost no effort. And a card that takes no effort is a card that you can just readily pick up, whether it's a promo at an MSRP product like a Charizard UPC or a on the ball Pikachu, which is there's probably 1,000 of them right now on eBay, maybe 2,000. Who knows how many of those cards will eventually hit the market? And then again, card like that, prices after all these cards get sent to grade, and prices of that just going to get absolutely wrecked. And the craziest thing about a card like that is those cards selling raw. Pull ourselves back like 6 months ago before they announced that these cards were going to be in-store promos. These cards were super expensive. Like, man, there's going to be some people who take baths on those cards. But that's all it is. It's just, it's the easiest barrier of entry. And I always wonder this. These plays can be relatively easy. Like, so on the ball Pikachus, after grading fees and everything, I'll be into that card for less than $40. Probably if that card hits, and that's including grading fees. So pick that card up plus grading fees. I'm going to be into that card for like less than 40. If that card hits a 9, I'm probably going to, by the time I get them back, easily sell them for like 70 to $80. If it hits a 10, it's probably going to still be greater than 140, 150. And then eventually the market will just be so oversaturated with those cards. The market will probably drop pretty drastically. But right away, it's like no brainer for me. I'm going to double my money on a 9, potentially like triple to quadruple my money on a 10 in the very, very short term. And it requires absolutely zero effort to go on eBay, to click buy it now, to get those cards, cut open the plastic little, packets they come in, sleeves, whatever you want to call them, the clear cellophane packs they come in, put it in a penny sleeve, throw it in a top loader, put it in a flat rate UPS box, and just send it to PSA. I'm going to probably own those cards for the matter of like a day or however long. So I get those, I come home from work at 5 o'clock. I go to my mailbox. I pick those cards up at night. I've already input them in the PSA. The next morning, they're already being shipped out. So I'm going to own those cards like literally on my persons for like 14 hours, 15 hours. Like in total, that's how long I'll own those cards for. There's some stuff that the barrier of entry right now is still so easy. And I keep asking myself, and so every time I talk about stuff like this, and I try to always bring myself back, I always want to ask this one question. When does all this end? When do these easy plays end? Because they gotta kind of end quickly, right? Because how much can the market really like sustain these type of plays? Because you would think that the market can't just continuously set after set, promo after promo, release after release, like support these plays. And the cards I'm having the most success with right now, my most recent returns, and my most recent return being like I had a few $18 submissions come back, but one of my $18 was pretty large. And that submission had a lot of celebration cards. And yeah, celebrations out of all the sets, celebrations, one of the most modern possible releases. And I sent away like every single classic collection card that I ever pulled from celebration. And most of those cards hit the 10. Sadly, I wanted only one freaking card for my PC, and that was just the Umbreon Gold Star, and it freaking hit the 9. And that was the only card I actually wanted for my personal collection, the only 10 I was going to put away out of all the celebrations, and that one hit the 9. But the rest of them hit 10s. And oh my God, out of all the cards that I'm currently selling, I am selling through those celebration PSA 10s faster than anything else. And the profit margins on those cards are just freaking fantastic for me right now. So, because you got to keep in mind, celebrations, one of the beautiful things about celebrations, one of the reasons I love that set, and probably a lot of you guys love that set, and a lot of people out there, I've heard the reason they love that is because almost every pack felt like you had, in a way, a hit. And for the most part, it was. If you opened up like a Celebrations ETB, you are more likely than not going to pull like 2 to 3 of those classic collection cards. Or if not, if you got super lucky, you pulled the Charizard, or you got even luckier and you pulled like the Mew gold card. And then going down the line, like, my God, the fact that I'm selling all these cards at what I'm selling them at, I had like, Venusaur recently sold. I had a Zekrom recently sold. I had a Blastoise recently sold, all in PSA 10s. And it's like, there was no effort required for those cards. And I felt like I was pretty late to that party because I felt Celebrations has been out now for a while. The populations of these cards are crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you start to look at populations, you always ask yourself, what can the market absorb? And, you look at a card like the Umbreon, and if anybody asks, so we made it 21 minutes. Oh my God, we made it 21 minutes before we talked about the Umbreon in a live chat. Congrats, or thoughts and prayers for everybody out there who's now mad that we got to the Umbreon talk. But that's a card that has 80% Gem Mint 10 rate. It has a PSA 10 population of like greater than 2,100 cards. You know how much 2,100 Gem Mint 10s of those cards are? How many? That is so many cards. And the problem is too, is not only is that a lot of card, now for that card to sustain the prices it's holding, which is around $1,000 and a 10, that means you need 2,100 people in theory to want to pick that card up at $1,000, or more importantly, people that will still hold on to that card when the prices are selling for 10,000, meaning they're not just trying to now, okay, this is now $1,000 card, let me instantly sell this. The market has to be so incredibly strong on a big end in order to keep that card that high, and it is. So it's pretty fascinating. And then even when you look at like more recent sets, Silver Tempest, the Lugia V Altart, that was, again, a no-brainer. Look at what that card's doing in a PSA 10, still holding very strong. Or you go one step before that and you go the Lost Origins. Lost Origin has 2 good alternative Vs in it. It has a Garantina V, which is still selling at, pretty strong prices. To keep in mind, this is a super modern set. And then the same thing with the Aerodactyl V. It's holding very strong. The Garantina holding stronger than both of them. Are they anything like they are price-wise in comparison to their Japanese counterparts? When you look at like what the Garantina V is selling for the Japanese version, or what the Lugia is selling for in the Japanese version, are they holding strong? Like maybe not those crazy Japanese prices, but they're still holding strong for a super modern set. Not only a super modern set where the booster boxes cost $100 still. I tell you what, this market is doing some stuff, and it's funny. I think I'm waiting. I think a lot of people out there will also kind of waiting for something to happen, just for the market to retrace harder than it is, or to show more signs of weakness. I think that's what a lot of people really wanted, signs of weakness. And I think a lot of people would look at something like, the Charizard UPC, which again is the thumbnail of this video, and really want to point to this as maybe this is a true example of the market being weak. I think this was just an example of showing that, in fact, the market was able to absorb a ton of these things. And yeah, we're starting to now see some sub MSRP sales of it. If you guys follow Pokemon TCG drops, he's shared a couple posts where there's some local game stores selling this thing for $100. $100 is fascinating for a product like this, especially when you try to make comparisons. But I think this is the thing we do too that is probably wrong, is we try to make comparisons for the Charizard UPC, the other products. And we try to compare it to like the Celebrations UPC, and it's not a fair one-to-one comparison, because it has now become glaringly apparent that the print runs were just that much different. Now, what does this mean? Does this just mean that Pokemon is finally figuring it out? I don't know. I talked about this as recently as my last live with Jake. I don't know if there's just somebody in Pokemon corporate who now has a really good finger on the pulse of this market and understands exactly the products that people really want. And they are really getting extremely good at allocating printer spaces to the products that are going to sell the most, or print things in a way, because you got to keep in mind, Pokemon did do that famous tweet however many months back where Pokemon said, we understand that, there's like a product shortage. I don't quote me on the exact wordage, but there's a product shortage and we're going to print to max capabilities. And we always question, what does that mean? What does it mean to print to max capability? And no one really knew, because there was a lot of products, even after that tweet came out, the Celebrations UPC being the glaringly obvious example, where supply was still low. We're like, this doesn't feel like max printing capability. So then we were asking the question, like, what are they printed? And then we would speculate on like big reprints of stuff. And then we started speculating on big reprints of Evolving Skies. And Evolving Skies did get a reprint, but it wasn't a big reprint. It was a relatively small reprint. I know a lot of people personally that have distributor agreements, and their allocations for that reprint were much less than they were hoping for. It. Trust me. The people I've talked to would have took like 5 to 6 times more of that reprint if they had the ability to, but they just weren't able to. And prices never really like got down to what they potentially could have with a huge reprint. So then we were like, okay, where all this printing capability go? Maybe they just identified this product, the Charizard UPC, which when you look at it, it is still a premium product. And you would think that maybe there is a little bit more that goes to it if you've opened it up. I mean, it at least has magnets in it and stuff. Like, how hard is it to put magnets in a product so the flap seals magnetically, and they're the little drawers and stuff, and you got the little extra things with like the metal coins and the play mats and stuff like that. So you're like, it does still have a premium feel to it. So you'd think maybe it was a little bit harder to print, but it doesn't feel like that. And not only that, is wave 1 was massive. Now we already know we're getting a second wave, and that second wave is probably going to start rolling out pretty soon to people. People that wanted that second wave who have, their distributors are probably going to start to get those second waves pretty soon. And probably come, December, especially Christmas time, this is the thing. Like, I don't know if you've gone into your local Targets, your local Walmarts lately. I went into my local Walmart as recently as today. I didn't go in there for Pokemon because I'm not going to pick up Pokemon cards at Walmart anymore ever since they kind of went up on their MSRP a few months back. And it was actually at the time of Brilliant Stars where I picked up that Brilliant Star ETB and I paid like $44.95. I was already at the counter. I didn't even know prices had gone up. And then I ended up opening on my channel and I gave away all the contents, and I just made a video pretty much saying like, this was just me teaching myself a lesson. Like, maybe now's the time you got to stop buying this stuff at MSRP, especially at Walmart. But I went in as recently today, and I like to look at the shelves just to see what's on there. And the freaking shelf was empty. I'm like, okay. Silver Tempest just came out. I was expecting to at least see like some 3-pack blisters, or single pack check lane blisters, or maybe ETBs, or just anything. Just even crumbs, or some of the crappy, like, what is it, the Verizon wireless V box and the crappy Electrode V boxes and all these like really mediocre products that are out right now. I was like, at least I'll see these on the shelves. I walked in, I couldn't believe it. Empty, completely empty. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was just a bad day for them or something, or maybe the MJ Holdings person hasn't come recently to stock the shelves. I was shocked. Could not believe it. That here we are at the end of 2022, and the shelves at a freaking local Walmart were still empty. I don't know. And that's one of the things you're going to find out that I say a lot on this channel is I do use the words I don't know. And one of the reasons I make lives like this, and I think somebody on one of my most recent videos put a comment pretty much saying like, you got to come to your lives with more questions or more market discussions, or talk about, sales you've seen and stuff like this. I'm going to let everybody out there know And I've tried to make it very apparent now. When I come on and I do these lives, especially when I do these one-on-ones, what I'm doing when I'm talking is all I'm doing is I'm giving you an insight into my thought process. And sometimes my thought process is happening real time changing. And when I talk, I'm trying to rationalize things out in while talking to you and make it make sense to me. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people just think that we look at the market and everything instantly makes sense. It doesn't. One of the things about this market, and one of the reasons why I like to do these lives and have these conversations, is because I'm trying to navigate this market, which I'm sure a lot of you people are probably trying to do exactly the same thing. Everybody out there is trying to navigate this market. Figure out what's going on, figure out the best place, figure out the bad place. What's going to sell, what's not going to sell. And especially if people are doing, this with money, especially in modern times and with this crazy economy, money's becoming scarcer and scarcer right now with inflation that's going on, with all the huge macroeconomics problems that are way bigger than Pokemon are right now. People are probably starting to realize that I always say, buy Pokemon with fun money. What is fun money? Fun money is that money you have left over at the end of the month. But if you're spending 7 to 10% more on all your normal purchases, if that fun money allocation was, $500, maybe it's $450 now. Or maybe if it was 400, now it's $360, if you just cut it by 10%. And that could add up to a pretty decent amount of money. If, everybody out there, their Pokemon monthly allocation fund money just got cut by 10%, and you now extrapolate that for every single collector in the hobby, every single collector is now spending 10% less on Pokemon per month. Now that dollar amount starts to add up drastically higher. And especially people that are, doing things on much higher end. So now instead of just maybe a $500, we're talking like $1,000 graded cards, because keep in mind now, there is a subsection of this hobby that are keeping that Umbreon afloat at greater than $1,000. There is a subset of this hobby, I don't know who those people are, but they exist, that are able to buy modern graded alternative arts for $1,000. That is a real group of people that are out there. And that group is big enough at this. I thought it was market manipulation at the beginning. I said this is the only thing that made sense, but we're at the point where it's just way too many sales. It's just too hard to keep a car that has a population of 2,100 PSA 10s, which is now like one of the highest cards ever, or one of the highest populations of a graded 10. And in fact, it's the only card in the history of this hobby to have 2,100 of that card graded in a PSA 10, and for a card to still sell for greater than $1,000. There's not a single card in this hobby that has that high of a graded population where the card still sells for greater than $1,000. Now, there are some cards out there that have relatively high populations in tens, and those cards sell for far greater than $1,000. But you have to now go back to cards like base set Charizard. Like, that's how far back in this hobby you have to go to even find one card that has a relatively high PSA 10 population where the card's still selling for like such a high premium. That shows you how crazy of an outlier a card like the Umbreon is. But that doesn't matter. That card, all that stuff happened in this market. And big shout out to Ancient Mew too. I don't know if you guys know Ancient Mew. He's been in the chat a lot of times. He's super active in Professor Oak's Discord. He has a pretty fun Instagram. But Ancient Mew reached out to me and he had 2 Umbreon PSA, or 2 raw Umbreons, and he asked what should he do with them. Should he sell them raw? And I said, you need to send those things away for grading. And he did get his grades back for those PSA 10s, and both of them, or sorry, for both those Umbreons, and both of them hit PSA 10s. So that's great, man. The fact that he was able to pull 2 of those cards, which I don't recommend trying to pull Umbreons, but he did it and he was successful at it. He was able to pull 2 of them, and both of them hit the 10s. Like, that's awesome. I'm so happy for him. Like, that means he's now graded more or less like $2,400 worth of Umbreons, which is ridiculous when you think about, like, that is a modern card. That is a card that came out in 2021, and that card is now selling for greater than $1,000. And more likely than not, Evolving Sky is still gonna get another reprint. I put it pretty high on the likelihood. But yeah, we've made it now. I've done my little rant. But if you guys have any questions, now's your time. Just I'm probably not going to hop to the top of the chat, but if you guys have any questions, write them into the chat right now, and I'll try to answer them. But I'll start scrolling up, see if I see anything that you guys put. See, we got a bunch of familiar people in the chat. See, we got Northwoods TCG, we got Professor Oak, we got Basic Trainer. It was good to see Basic Trainer. If you guys don't know, Basic Trainer does have his own YouTube channel now. Basic Trainer's been putting out some good lives. I was on one of them. We did like around the horn. If you guys are familiar with ESPN, it's like the around the horn model where you only have like 60 seconds to make your point, and then Basic Trainer was just handing out those arbitrary points. It was me. Yeah, there's a couple people on there. It was a lot of fun though. Rock Pokemon was out on there. I don't want to spoil it, but Rock Pokemon did beat me by a single point. I'm a little bummed out by that. But Professor Oak was on. It was a lot of fun. So Basic Trainer said, should I get a few cases of Zenith for $7 above distribution to flip? Is it that good? I don't think Pokemon Zenith is going to be a tough one to track down. I think Pokemon Zenith is going to probably play out relatively similar to Shining Fates when it comes to the amount of product out there. I don't see any reason why Pokemon is going to like hold back on Pokemon Zenith. Now, this is the thing. He asked, should I get a few cases of Zenith for $7 above distribution to flip? So what is I don't know, man. That's like one of the what do you want to do with it? You want to sell it as a sealed product play, or do you want to try to play the ultimate game of start ripping Pokemon Zenith and try to be first to market on some of these cards? Because Pokemon Zenith is one of these really weird products. It's going to have so many hits at the very beginning. It's probably for the very initial like week or two, it's going to have a positive EV. And for anybody out there who wonders what does a positive expected value look like, it looks like, remember when Celebrations came out at the very beginning, and Celebrations had a positive EV right when that set was released, when you still had like every single classic collection card selling for like $25. Birthday Pikachus were selling for $25. The Umbreon Gold Star was selling for like 35 to 50. The Charizard was selling for 120. The Blastoise was selling for like 26. The Venusaur was selling for 30. And that was all during the first week. That was a product that had an expected, a positive expected value right at release. Now, again, it just goes back to what we've now said. Prices at release are not sustainable. They're not going to stay up. So when Basic Trainer asks that question, is it worth it to buy a few cases of Zenith if he's just paying $7 above distribution? It's going to be like, how long do you want to hold on to these things for? If you think these are going to be a long-term play, I doubt it. It's the same thing. Like, there's going to be a lot of this stuff. Kevin Clear said Battle Style is going to shoot up to $800 a box by 30th anniversary. Kevin Clear, I do not believe that Battle Styles is going to. Now, we're only 4 years away from the 30th anniversary. I don't think Battle Styles is going to hit 800 by the 30th, but if it does, I'll be a very happy person. I'm pretty sure Mason from Cardinal Game would be a happy person too, because he'd finally be able to get out of his Battle Styles position. That's been a bag of bags for him. Let's see. And then Kevin Clear said $1 packs of Evolving Skies in 2023. Yeah, I think Kevin's just out there trolling. I am waiting for the day that we see $1 Pokemon packs again. I don't think it's possible. It's just $1 is too cheap. That's $36 per booster box. Is it possible in the history of this hobby that we've seen $1 booster packs? Yes. I just don't see it happening right now. Not with like the whatnot streamers and everybody out there. They're just able to absorb way too much product. I don't think we'll ever see Pokemon reach down to $1 per pack. And if we ever do see a set of Pokemon reach $1 per pack, I think there will be so many indicators of a downtrending market before that happens and before we ever get to that point that a lot of people are probably going to have already made like their exit plays for a lot of product if we see any set reach $1. I mean, I don't even, yeah, it's pretty hard. But I want to say it was TCA Gaming even went out and made a video talking about like the trick or treat packs. Because trick or treat packs, you get like 40 of them for $15, so they're like 30 or 40 cents a piece. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if trick or treat packs in a year or two from now are selling for greater than $1 a piece. So, if I think trick or trade or trade packs. Oh my God, talk about a tongue twister. I think if those packs are going to reach $1, and that's a 3-card pack that originally sold for 30 cents per pack is going to reach $1. I think it's pretty hard to believe that any actual standard set will reach $1 per pack. I just find it hard to believe. Not, and he was just making a joke too, saying Evolving Skies, but I was just kind of elaborating on that a little bit more. So Pokebondo said he's noticed that a lot of his local big box stores, he sees a lot of parents walk up and buy 1 or 2 products often when there. That's interesting. I am curious too, like, because we got the holiday times coming up, we have, Hanukkah and Christmas and stuff like this. Are we gonna start to see like kids really wanting this stuff like for holiday presents again? I think right now from everybody that I talk to, like the youth is kind of in a small way experiencing like their own little mini 1999 boom. The same way that we had our 99 boom where we are just loved everything Pokemon. There's a new generation that's kind of reliving that same sort of thing right now. The only difference is this generation now lives in the world of $1,000 PSA 10 Umbreons. Like, can you imagine in 99 if you could open up a pack and pull a Charizard and instantly grade it and that card was worth $1,000? We lived in the days of you opened up that Charizard, it was a raw card and it was worth $100, and that was crazy. Can you imagine you're just some little kid, you go and your mom buys you like a 3-pack blister of Silver Tempest and you pull a Lugia V Altart out of your 3-pack blister? Can you imagine in 99 if we ever were able to do that? Like, that would have been insane. We lived in a different time too, but I don't even know. I don't know how as a kid you would be able to like navigate modern Pokemon too. It's crazy. Oh, big PSA for everybody out there, not PSA, the grading card company. PSA is in public service announcement. I've had a lot of people ask me on different lives before. They're like, hey, I want to get into playing Pokemon. What is a good way to play Pokemon? And I always said to them, you should just download like Pokemon TCG Live, and just play the card trading game. You're going to have to do it on your desktop because there was no mobile app version. Well, as of today, that mobile app is available. You can go on your app store. You can download Pokemon Live. Just have it now. If you've never played Pokemon before, create an account, get yourself a little Pokemon Live account. I'm sure everybody out there by this point, if you're what are we, 43 minutes into a live talking about Pokemon. If you're this far into this live, I'm sure you're just sitting on an absolutely crazy stack of code cards. Take a couple of those cards, scan them in, learn how to play the game. You can do it now from your phone. So you have your opportunity. This is something that we've been waiting for now for an extremely long time. I did play a little bit today. I downloaded it. I didn't have a lot of time. I was just busy doing other stuff, but I wanted to try it out. And it felt pretty good. It was a pretty smooth. It wasn't super laggy. It just like the very initial startup was a little slow, but the actual gameplay I thought went pretty smooth. So if you guys have never played this game and you wanted to, and you've always said you wanted to learn how to play Pokemon TCG, the actual game, now's your chance. Go, 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 go download it. After this video is over, I'll probably put a link for the App Store just so you can download it. Play the game for the first time. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't like it. And if you don't like it, then you'll never have to ask again. So, But no, it's pretty cool. It was something that we've all been waiting for now for a long time, is that very friendly, just go on your iPhone, click on the app, and start playing the game. Because sometimes it is tough, especially because so many people, live and die by their phones nowadays, to not ever have that mobile app version. The fact that we have it now is pretty awesome. Let's see. Just jump to the bottom. So if you guys do have any questions, the best way to have me read it is you write at Knowledge Card. So on my screen, it's going to highlight. So I'll be able to easily find the questions. uh, see, Tommy original video said 12 Charizard UPCs on the shelf at Walmart today. Cape May County, New Jersey. No Grande store on Route 5. So he said he had 12 Charizard UPCs at his local Walmart. That's pretty crazy. See, it is. We are moving into this weird world where now a super crazy hype, crazy demand product is now sitting on the shelves. Who would have thought? This is one of the things we don't talk about quite enough, though, is that Charizard UPC is still a $120 product. And for the large majority of this hobby, probably that $120 price tag is probably still pretty lot for a lot of people, or maybe a little bit of a barrier entry for some people. Let's see. So Tommy said scalpers losing their minds trying to offload over MSRP. Laugh my ass off. I keep laughing at them. Tommy, I agree with you. I always said the product, that play was never to sell that thing sealed. Every single person that ever messaged me on Instagram told them the same exact thing. That was never a sealed product play. Anybody that tried to make the Charizard UPC a sealed product play is definitely getting burned. But because this market is still relatively forgiving, if you did send them away for grading, got lucky, got tens, that's still, $100 or $300 per promo times 3. That's $900 if you got all 3 tens, which we do know some people out there did get all 3 tens. And then if you got unlucky, in a PSA 9, they're selling for like, between $70 and $90 right now. So still didn't lose money, but you didn't make money out of 9, because if you got those cards back by now, they're $50. But I already talked about it. Bulk returns are coming back super fast from PSA, super fast, light speed. Like strap a jetpack to your back like that fast. So Synth Gaming said, first time in a live and just subbed. Not too long ago. Great content. What do you think about loading up on the Lance's Charizard boxes from Celebrations? This is funny. That's a good question. Lance's Charizard. So one of my submissions, that is a $15 grading submission, had 4 Lance's Charizard Vs in it. And I'm expecting, like, I sent my 4 best ones, and I'm expecting those to hit 10s, or at least I'm hoping they hit 10s. Seeing what those Lance's Vs are selling for, they're still selling for like right between $40 and $50 right now for a modern promo. And the crazy thing is I talked about this in a video, and I said I thought that was a short-term play. Now, Rusty TCA Gaming also talked about those Lance's V Charizard promos, but now he had a different take than I did, where I thought that those things were extremely quick turn and burns, meaning because I thought that for a super modern or Lance's V promo, I thought $40 to $50 was on the high end, but Rusty's picking those up as long-term plays. And Rusty's been relatively successful, and I don't think relative is a very fair word to use. I think probably the better word to say is Rusty has been hyper successful with a lot of things he's done in this hobby. Hyper, maybe not even a good word. Whatever word is a better word than hyper, that's Rusty. He's done about as good as most people have ever done in this hobby. But with that said, he said he thought that Lance's Charizard V promos from Celebrations, he thought those are long-term plays. So your question was asking, though, what do I think about them? I like them. I think they're actually a great product, and especially for a product that could be, broken down and cannibalized. Like I said, you break those cards out, you send them away for graded. They're definitely bulk tier graded, $15, and then I think we're probably getting pretty close now to PSA, either opening up $15 bulk again, just no more TCG specials, just $15 bulk. Now, by early to mid of next year, is it possible to see $10 bulk really be open, or at least another TCG special from PSA, though, at the rate they're grading cards? Because they're grading it at a crazy fast speed. $10 bulk tiers for TCG specials is not out of the realm of impossible, because we've already seen 15. I would not be surprised if come March of next year, we see a $10 TCG special. So to answer your question, if you're starting to sit down a couple of those Lance's V promos and you don't know what to do with them, I like them. I like it. I think it's a good play. Plus, the fact that Celebrations is becoming a little bit scarcer and scarcer to find. Single pack prices are starting to creep up again. And we did see a relatively decent restock of those at Walmart. Now, I don't know if it was just a restock because they had some old supply, or if it was some kind of little teeny mini reprint that Pokemon did, or if Pokemon just had a bunch of these cards loose and then they just repack them into boxes. I don't really know like what that was, but we did see some of those, and we are seeing them sell again for like $19.99. And I thought that that was a good price. And I actually picked up some myself. So to answer your question, that was a very long-winded answer, but I do like those cards. Let's see. So Mucha Dion says selling bulk in 2022 is impossible. How long do you think till selling bulk for more than a penny a piece will happen? I don't know. That's it's impossible to say. We saw the bulk market crash in 2016 right after like the whole Pokemon Go boom happened. I think so. I don't know if you guys are liking these or not, but sadly they're not going to end. I have such a huge backlog of these, but I've been doing a lot of like little channel highlights, and mainly I do these highlights for people that maybe are newer to the channel or haven't seen every single live. So I'll do like a little clip from certain lives, and then at the end of the video it says full video link in the description below, and then you go in that description, and maybe if you like that video, want to watch the whole live, you can click on it. But one of the clips I talked to Danny Phantom, and Danny Phantom talks about when he got his original distribution, and when he decided to kind of make Pokemon a job. He was still working his regular job, but he was really starting to get into it. And one of the things he talks about is when he got right back into Pokemon at the very beginning, which was right around that 2014, 2016 timeline, bulk prices were 6 to 7 cents per card. And then he saw that huge crash happen after Pokemon Go. And then it took a while for that bulk prices to creep back up. And the problem is the only way bulk prices are going to increase is the people that are buying your bulk need to be able to sell that bulk. And right now, with how much product has recently been open and how much bulk we've now seen, keep in mind, Pokemon has printed 9.1 or 9.2 billion cards. That is a lot of cards. And most of those cards, as we all know, those cards are bulk. We might look at the shiny things. We talk about the Umbreons, and we talk about the Lugia V Altarts, and we talk about the Sleepy Teas and the Garantina Vs and the Aerodactyl V Altarts and the Charizard V Altar. Those are what we talk about. Those cards are a very small percentage of that 9.1 billion cards. The large majority of those cards are bulk. So there's just so many of those cards out there that it's hard to say what's going to happen with those. I don't know. We could be in a bulk, like, I don't know. My recommendation for you would be to just spend a little bit of time to go like rifle through your bulk and pick out any of those cards that you think are relatively decently playable, or cards that sell for I can't even say that anymore. I was going to tell you to start. You'll have to figure out bulk. There are definitely people out there you can talk to. One of the people out there that you can talk to who's made it now part of his living is Mile High Pokemon. Him and his fiance are doing bulk as like a little side gig, and they've been relatively successful at it. And he's been picking up bulk too. He's one of the very few buyers of bulk still. And I think he's paying, I don't want to misquote his price, but I think he's paying like 2.5 to 3 cents per card right now. And he is actually just recently started reacquiring bulk. So there are people out there that are still doing that grind. It's a tough grind. It's a lot of people don't want to do it, or the people that were doing it just ended up getting overload. You have your 5-row monster boxes and it's a lot. But yeah, so reach out to Mile High Pokemon. I'm sure he would be interested in acquire some of your bulk if that's what you're trying to get rid of. I don't know if it's 2.5 or 3 cents. You'll have to double check with him. But I know he was relatively high. And yeah. I know he does a lot of his pickups local though. So Felipe says, my son loves Pokemon and is just all about how much they cost yesterday, today, and months ago. And he loves TCG Player for the charts. Keeps his cards organized and minty protected. That's pretty crazy that your son is like super engaged in the analytical aspect of Pokemon and, following market trends, and especially if he's on TCG Player looking at, price charts and stuff like that. That is actually pretty interesting. And I would love to know your opinion if you think by him being so engaged in that sort of market, in the more financial aspect of Pokemon, or, watching trends or following price trajectories or, ups and downs and really keeping a keen eye on the market. I would be curious if that's helping him with just his overall like financial education from more of a macro sense. Like, is he really starting to understand like other markets, because now Pokemon has been like a little bit of a stepping stone for him to understand? Because keep in mind, your son's a kid and he's young and he might not be able to fully grasp how Pokemon markets, or just speculative markets in general, work, because that's what Pokemon is. Pokemon is about as speculative as a market as you can possibly get, especially because this is a TCG, it is cardboard, it is heavily manipulated, heavily speculative. But I would be curious if he's been able to like use Pokemon as like maybe a springboard for just greater financial awareness. So Ancient Mew said Pokemon, yeah, speaking of Ancient Mew, he's the one that graded the 2 Umbreons out of 10. He said Pokemon knew what they were doing by printing the Zard UPC. They were printing endlessly. Yep. Yeah, it's way too. It's like endless money in a way. And this was the thing I've talked about, and I actually talked about it in a live going back a few months back. And I said the thing about Pokemon is at any point, if they want, they always have this crazy ace up their sleeve. Pokemon has held back so much stuff that they could do. And I think sometimes it's frustrating because I think there are some people out there who want Pokemon to just open the floodgates and release like every ace that they could pull up their sleeve to just throw them all out at one time. But luckily, Pokemon hasn't done that. Pokemon has been very good. They haven't made like numbered cards, which I think if they ever do that will be a very dark day for Pokemon. I hope Pokemon never needs to do that. And that's the thing I said. If Pokemon doesn't need to release like, numbered cards, please don't. And probably if they ever did that, the market would probably, go crazy if we ever saw like a 1-of-1 Charizard or something like that. But who knows what that price could be? It could be as low as $10,000, could be high as like $100,000, because it's all going to just take one buyer to really like put a price into what that card could be or what it should be or what it might be, But hopefully Pokemon never does that. But Pokemon also has the ace up their sleeve that they can go back pretty far and they can print pretty much anything they want and crash the market. There was tons of points in 2020, 2021. If they wanted to, they could have went back and printed Team Up. Team Up at the time in 2020 was only like a couple sets removed. Very similar to like how we saw like Darkness Ablaze being reprinted. It was about the same timeline from when we saw that Darkness Ablaze reprint, where we saw prices of Darkness Ablaze crash. There was a still window of time which they could have reprinted Team Up for that same amount of period. But the only difference was the market would have been able to like super absorb Team Up, and Pokemon could have just printed as much Team Up as they possibly wanted to, and they could have made a ton of money. Luckily, Pokemon hasn't done that, but Pokemon always has this sleeve or ace up their sleeve where they can just print what people want. And even right now, if Pokemon wanted to, and I still think they might, is just print Evolving Skies. They can print Evolving Skies and just make money. Just put their printers on. I always say that everyone probably, if you're walking through a printing facility, it's probably super loud. You probably have to wear hearing protection, and those rollers of those printers are probably just going like whoa, 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 whoa all day long. But as a Pokemon executive or somebody from Pokemon International walks through there, they don't hear those printers going whoa, whoa, whoa. All they hear is cash registers. They hear cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. That's all those things are doing when they're walking through those factory floors. That's why they're able to pick up like and acquire Millennium Print Group and stuff like that. They're positioning themselves in a fantastic position. Because if you were a consultant looking from the outside in, looking at Pokemon and saying, how could Pokemon position themselves to just be in a better spot? And especially if the market ever booms again, if we ever go through like a 2020 type scenario again. A lot of people say 2020 was a black swan event, and there's probably like a lot of validity to that. But you can't rule out the realm of impossible from now until the end of time that we can potentially ever see another boom. But one of the ways that Pokemon needed to position themselves to, if that ever did happen again, is you got to own the printers. And by them acquiring Millennium Print Group, they have definitely positioned themselves that if it ever happens again, they will have full access to these printers. And don't get me wrong, Millennium Print Group is not only printing Pokemon either. Millennium Print Group prints all kinds of stuff. Not just Pokemon, bunch of different TCGs, bunch of different products in general. It is actually a good business to own a printing facility. And they are literally the most complementary business that Pokemon could ever purchase. So they have definitely positioned themselves to be in fantastic position. And especially if they now own these printing groups, we can only have to speculate, but I see no reason why they can't really throttle printing much easier than they were able to in the past, because you got to keep in mind, if you're Pokemon, you're working with Millennium Print Group and you're doing print runs and stuff, and yeah, you probably got a little bit of like, you get pushed to the head of the line, and maybe you get a little bit of, like the red carpet treatment a little bit, because I'm sure Pokemon is probably one of their biggest, if not their biggest client. So yeah, they were always probably were treated pretty well, but you still had to say, well, we want this much product, and you were locked in with all those contracts and stuff. Now, Pokemon doesn't need to worry about contracts, and if a product isn't selling, they don't have to worry about like keep printing this stuff. And if they do have a product that sells much better, they don't probably have to get pushed to the back of the line or having to worry about like getting printer allocations and stuff. Like this is going to become a very smooth, more seamless procedure for Pokemon in the future. Is Pokemon there right now? No, probably not. I would say that their entire business model or hasn't changed like that at Millennium Print Group yet, where now Pokemon could just like ramp up or turn down printers, on their whim. But I definitely can say that Pokemon is positioning themselves for that to become a possibility in the future, which is just great business. I mean, Pokemon, I've already said it before, Pokemon is killing it right now. They know exactly what they're doing. They're flexing. They're flexing on everybody, man. So we got Ben says, I pulled the Lugia V Altart today after only opening 15 packs of Silver Tempest total. I love this hobby for stuff like that. Hey, Ben, I'm happy for you, man. That's pretty awesome. Especially 15 packs. My recommendation for you would be don't open up any more Silver Tempest. You've won Silver Tempest. Just sit back, take that Lugia V, send it to PSA, get it graded, get yourself a nice 10. Whatever type of collector you are in this hobby, if you open those, you want that card as your personal collection, you pulled it yourself, you're probably going to spend a couple bucks to have it graded, just put it in your PC. Or if you like to use a hobby to pay for the hobby in order for you to acquire maybe other cards that you want, sell that card. Do whatever you want, Ben. You're a very lucky man. You're only into that card, whatever the price of 15 packs are. And I'm sure that Lugia V wasn't the only pull you got out of 15 packs. So everybody out there knows that Ben won today. You won the day. You seized the day. Carpe diem to you, Ben. Carpe diem. Well, that's awesome though. Good to hear, man. Let's see. Pokebondo said, I submit bulk to his local LGS every couple weeks, and while it's not much as a year ago, still helps cut costs for future products. It especially helps if the people you're sending bulk to just do like trades, bulk for booster boxes, stuff like that. Like I said, I don't sell my bulk, but I have my bulk, and it is a waste. And I give the advice to like go through and pull out the playable cards and stuff. I wish I could just sit here and tell you like that's what I do all the time, but it's not. It's a lot of work, especially the nickel and dime cards. That's why when you look at a card like Nickel Old School look at a guy like Nickel Old School Pokemon who's nickel and diamond cards all the time, doing that crazy grind that he does. That's pretty crazy. Takes a lot of work, a lot of respect for that. But all right, all right, okay. I think I made it to the bottom of the chat. Sorry if I skipped some. I don't know why. If you guys if you guys didn't have questions, you just got to write at PokeKnowledge so I could see them, but I didn't really see any ats. But managed to have this live go on for like an hour, 5 minutes, which maybe that's long, maybe that's short. Some people want super long lives, some people want super short lives, maybe hour lives right in the middle. But all I ask from you guys, I don't ask for much. All I ask, do me one favor, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, because surprisingly, a crazy amount of people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you've somehow made it to the end of an hour and 6 minute long live and you're not subscribed, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you do like the lives and you want to know when I'm going live, usually I don't broadcast them or advertise them earlier. So just hit that bell notification. But I see we got, Drew's always out there in the chat. Drew's one of the good ones, man. Drew wins mod of the year, definitely. He's always telling everybody to like and sub and hit that bell notification. But yeah, guys, as always, appreciate every single one of you guys out there. I love this hobby. Never gonna stop loving this hobby. And every day is an adventure in this hobby. But with that said, I'll catch you all in the next video.